neurosurgeon, former presidential candidate, and Secretary of Housing and Urban Development during the Trump administration, Dr. Ben Carson. It is so great to have you here with me on Better for America. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. I'm delighted to be with you and appreciate your patriotism.
Dr. Carson, at age 33, you became the youngest chief pediatric surgeon in America. You went on to lead a team of surgeons in the first known separation of conjoined twins. They were joined at the back of the head. And you also performed the first successful neurosurgical procedure on a fetus inside the womb, developing new methods to treat brainstem tumors. Now, what stands out to me most is that you were the first to do these things. And I think when you're the first to do anything, there really is no blueprint. Dr. Carson, what gave you the foresight, the confidence, and the courage to attempt these procedures, not knowing that you were guaranteed a successful outcome, but going for it anyway?
Well, recognizing that the alternative, if I didn't succeed, if I didn't do it, was going to be pretty awful. And so that drives me. I always do something called a best-worst analysis. What's the best thing that happens if I do this? What's the worst thing that happens if I do it? What's the best thing that happens if I don't do it? And what's the worst thing that happens if I don't do it? And I look at the answers for those. And that frequently will lead me to a point where I say, well, the only chance that this person has for any reasonable outcome is if I do something. And I recognize that nothing has ever been done until somebody does it. So you may as well be the one.
Doing it anyway because it's the right thing to do is how I define courage. And all of those reasons that you just mentioned are really, in my opinion, great qualities of leadership.
I encourage young people not just to be courageous, but also to be prepared. You know, make sure that you know what you're talking about. Make sure you know what you're doing. So study your material carefully, analyze things, because that's the only way you can really do a good best-worst analysis. You have to actually know where things would go based on certain facts.
Now, despite your amazing credentials, you were attacked by many leftists, not only during your presidential campaign, but also in your role during the Trump administration. What do you believe is the reason why the left has such vitriol, especially towards conservative candidates, non-career politicians, and anyone who doesn't believe or adopt their ideology? Yet, despite the fact that many of these people, including folks like you, just want to do good for the American people, what is the left's motivation?
Well, you know, President Trump always says to me, Ben, aren't you glad you didn't win? And I say, the only thing for the left that's worse than Satan is a black conservative. They don't like that at all because you're not supposed to be able to think for yourself. And if you don't follow a certain pattern, you're a race traitor, you're an Uncle Tom, you're every name that they can come up with. And it flies in the face of their narrative that you're supposed to be a victim, that the system is supposed to be systemically racist, is supposed to be against you, and you're not supposed to be able to achieve at the highest levels. So that's why they don't like people like they used to. Before all this wokeness stuff came in, I got the NAACP Image Award and all kinds of things. Black Caucus gave me their highest achievement award. The NAACP gave me the Spingarn Medal, which is their highest award. But now, he's a conservative and he agrees with Trump. He must be crazy now. And, the good thing is there are a lot more people who are starting to think for themselves. When I went to conservative gatherings, I used to be the only black face there, and that's not the case anymore by a long shot. And I think that's good because, we need to get back to the place that Dr. King dreamed about, where people would be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. And, it also helps us to avoid some of the things like we just saw with Silicon Valley Bank. If you put people on the board who just check the boxes. Yeah, this one is gay, this one's trans, this one's black, this one's female. So we got the appropriate number of people. What about people who actually know about banking?
How do we undo some of what we've seen unfold over the last just short 2 years since Joe Biden has been in office?
Well, it's so important to be courageous. There are a lot of people who actually have the right thoughts and the right belief systems, but they have a tendency to stand in the corner looking at their shoes rather than getting out there and being vocal. And that's so important because the reason that the leftists are able to achieve so much is because they don't seem to have any opposition. At American Cornerstone, we have our Little Patriots program, and it's a free of charge online course K through 5 that teaches all about America, about the principles of our founding, our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't hide anything. But if you honestly look at it, you'll see there's a lot more good than there is bad and ugly. You have all of these 1619 people and CRT people who just want to take the bad stuff and they want to build everything around the bad stuff and say that that's who we really are. How absurd is that? And if America was really such a horrible place, why are all these people trying to get in here? And when they get in here, wouldn't they call all their friends and relatives and say, don't come here, this is a horrible place? No, you're getting just the opposite of that. And that should tell you quite a bit about America. So we just have to be willing to state the obvious, state the facts boldly. And, what I find with the leftists is usually they don't have much of an argument and they resort to calling you names.
Yeah, and we saw how effective, again, Donald Trump was at really calling them out. As an outsider, he was very successful. And with primary season fast approaching, with you being one of the candidates who ran for the Republican nomination in 2016, do you think that Americans are looking for another outsider? And if so, what qualities do you think are most important in looking for a 2024 presidential candidate?
Well, I think, when I was running, and particularly when I reached front runner status and had 300 cameras following me every place I went, people were looking for truth. They wanted veracity. They wanted something that they could believe in. And I think that is probably more important to them than personality types. And there's no question that, Trump probably rubbed some people the wrong way. But the fact of the matter is, his policies worked.
He brought light to the fact that the leftist media, they imagine stories, they create them, they publish them in an attempt to really brainwash Americans. During your tenure at the White House, did you experience any of this? And do you feel liberal media outlets are defiantly ignoring the will of the majority of American people?
Well, of course I did. You may remember they tried to say that I was buying a $31,000 dining room table and while trying to cut the budget for everybody else. There was a big investigation and it cost the taxpayers $1 million to investigate a $31,000 dining room set, which was never bought. But they needed the narrative that this person in the Trump administration is trying to cut your budget while they're buying luxury furniture for themselves. And then they came and they said, my wife had an office at the HUD building, completely untrue. That my son was trying to run some of the things, completely untrue. That one cost the taxpayers $2 million, IG investigation. Just total garbage. And then, when I was first appointed, I did not have a deputy secretary for 8 months. Didn't have any assistant secretaries for 5 months. And you'll notice when the Biden administration came in, the Republicans didn't try to hold up their nominees. They let them have what they needed to get the job done. But, there's just so much politics being played right now. And it really is being done to the detriment of our population.
Yeah, something I'm really praying for is courageous leadership in 2024. In the White House, too many people with brilliant ideas and good intentions are very fearful to get involved, and others are sometimes really hesitant to carry out what they set out to do because of opposition. Now, you are so open about your faith and how it has impacted your life and career. How closely tied is faith in God, in your opinion, and the courage to step up and stand up for what we know is right and morally good?
Well, I think that's where the courage comes from. Recognizing that the most powerful force in the universe is behind you and has never let me down. I mean, I've been through a lot of hairy situations, and I've never been disappointed in having faith in God and helping. It helps you to discern what is the right path to take. And think about it, when our country was formulated, our Declaration of Independence talks about certain unalienable rights given to us by our Creator, aka God. So it was an important part of who we were. And if our rights come from God, they cannot be taken away by man. They cannot be taken away by government. And also, you look at our money. Every coin in your pocket, every bill in your wallet says, "In God we trust." Our Pledge of Allegiance says we are one nation under God. And as we've had a tendency to push God away and godly principles, look what's happening to our country. It is spiraling downward just as fast as it spiraled upward when we accepted them.
Dr. Carson, those are very important words and very true. And I thank you so much. It's a joy to have you spend time with me today. Before you go, tell our listeners about your new program, the Executive Branch for America series. What is it about and where can we access it?
Well, thank you for asking. We recognize that a lot of people who come to Washington, D.C., particularly staffers on Capitol Hill and in the executive branch, they don't really know a whole lot about how everything works and all the complex interactions, how budgets are formulated, how regulations come to be or come to be removed. And it takes them a good long period of time before they get all of that under their belt. By that time, their time is up.
Yeah.
They're political appointees. So we decided to put together a program online that gives you all of that basic information and shows you how all of these things interact together. For both political appointees and for career appointees, we need more career appointees who think the right way and understand the right things too, because right now about 90% of the employees who are career government employees lean to one side very heavily. And if you keep leaning that way, the boat's going to tip over. We need to get some people in from the other side as well. All of this is absolutely free of charge. We have people talking about their experiences. And the interviewer is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and she does a fantastic job. And all of this is just continuing to grow and expand as we try to provide for people everything that we actually need to succeed. And that's why we call American Cornerstone not just a think tank, but also a do tank. We do stuff because we can't just sit around and talk and think. We really need to do things and create programs and mechanisms whereby people can get involved. And I think we all want to save our country. And, it was Benjamin Franklin who said in 1787, after the Constitutional Convention, he was asked, "Sir, what do we have here, a monarchy or a republic?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." if you can keep it. We've kept it for over 240 years. We're as close to losing it now as we have ever been. But if it's going to be saved, it's going to be saved by we the people. It's not going to be saved by the government. It's going to be saved by we the people, armed with the Constitution.
Oh, thank you so much for all of the great work that you're doing, Dr. Ben Carson. Thank you again. Pleasure having you with me, and I look forward to inviting you back to the show in the near future. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, and keep up the wonderful work.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen to more just like it. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, or by downloading the AMAC app. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Until next time, I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your podcast, Better for America. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful evening.